I scored a 99 percentile score on the GMAT with 6 weeks of self-study. However, that was several years back. In 2024, the GMAT exam format has undergone a major change. As a former 99 percentile scorer, I am taking on the challenge of taking the new GMAT exam and scoring a 99 percentile score once again. Today is day 7 of my GMAT prep. On day 6, I had completed taking the verbal diagnostic test. Here are the topics that I aim to cover today. First, I want to restart my GMAT preparation by referring back to my notes from day 1 through day 6. This may not be obvious to you since you're watching my video on YouTube or on my website, but after day 6 of my preparation, I ran into a series of personal and professional commitments. As a result, I had to put my GMAT prep on hold. In the real world, several weeks have passed since day 6 of my GMAT prep. Because I'm going to restart my prep, this is also a great opportunity for me to cover how you can deal with the challenge of pausing and restarting your GMAT prep without wasting time or feeling bogged down. Having to put your GMAT prep on hold is a common problem that you might run into because of unforeseen professional or personal commitments. Once I have revisited my notes from day 1 through day 6 of my GMAT prep, I will also demonstrate how you can put together a quick study plan for the next 2 through 6 days before you reach the next key checkpoint in your GMAT preparation journey. That next checkpoint we are working towards is taking our first GMAT official practice exam and getting a hard and clear baseline for your GMAT score. That baseline is going to be important for you to be able to do 3 key things. First, it will enable you to begin to set realistic expectations for your target GMAT score. Second, it will help you get a sense of how much time and effort you might have to invest to get to that target score. And finally, it will help you track improvements in your GMAT score on a weekly or bi-weekly basis and ensure that you're not spending hours and hours of time on GMAT prep without actually showing any improvement whatsoever. Lastly, I also have a stretch goal for my study session today. If I am left with time, I will actually spend some of it executing on the study plan that I put together. With that goal setting out of the way, let me get into revisiting my notes from day 1 through day 6 of my GMAT prep and pulling together the key pieces of information that I need to move on to the next step. Alright, so I spent about 20 minutes glancing at my notes from the 6 days of prep that I've put in. I also looked at my performance metrics from the diagnostic test, specifically my accuracy and velocity in each section. To be clear, accuracy is the number of questions I answered correctly divided by the number of questions I attempted in total in a given study session. And velocity is the total amount of time I spent solving a set of questions divided by the number of questions that I attempted. Finally, I also went ahead and made myself a simple study plan for the next few days. Let me walk you through my thought process and my conclusions. From looking at my notes and my diagnostic test performance, I know the following. I did pretty well on the quant section. No worries there. On verbal, I did well on velocity, but I think I struggled with accuracy. The big thing to note here is that after I was done with the verbal section, I reattempted the question that I got wrong. And I still couldn't figure out how I would answer that question any differently. This means that if I was given, let's say, 20 minutes to answer that question, I would still get it wrong. That is particularly concerning because it indicates that there is an issue with my approach to solving that problem itself. Coming to the data section, my performance in terms of velocity was actually pretty bad. I took almost 4 minutes per question when the limit on the test is about 2 minutes 15 seconds. My accuracy on the data section actually looks bad too. However, I'm a little less worried about it. This is because I remember that the mistakes I made were the result of me misreading the question or the answer options. As I have mentioned in my previous videos, that is an issue which is easier to correct than situations where your approach to solving a problem itself is wrong. Based on what I see here, I decided to focus on the data section, verbal section, and quant section in that exact sequence as I go through my GMAT prep. My intention is to see if a couple days of preparation will help me significantly boost my velocity on the data section. And of course, that needs to happen without sacrificing accuracy. If I'm able to achieve that, great. If not, it would indicate that I need to put in significant work to do well on the data section. My next focus will be the verbal section, where hopefully I will find that the mistake I made was a one-off and not something that requires deeper work going forward. With that conclusion, let me give you a quick overview of my study plan for the next few days. So what I have here is a simple 3 to 4 day study plan. For the first 2 days, I will focus on the data section, spending 45 minutes each day solving data insights problems. And of course, I will spend additional time analyzing what I have done and identifying potential improvements. On day 2, I will also spend some time, just about 15 minutes, solving some questions from the quant section. I expect the first day to take me about 90 minutes and the second day to take me about 120 minutes in total, including the analysis time that I will need to spend after I'm done attempting the questions. Then I want to spend 1 day on the verbal section, once again spending 45 minutes solving problems and then additional time just analyzing what I've done. On that day, I will also spend 15 minutes each on the data insights and quant sections in order to ensure that I'm retaining the learnings which I have identified from the preceding days. Finally, on day 10, which is 3 days from now, I'm going to take the first practice exam to get a baseline for my GMAT score. Now there's an important call out here. My intention in the next few days is to grow my familiarity with the kind of questions that are asked on the GMAT before I take the practice exam. That way, even if I get a horrible score on the practice exam, I will know that it is not just because I'm taking an exam or solving these kind of problems after a long period of time. Think of it this way. Let's say you are going back to the gym after a long break from lifting weights. You don't want to start by immediately lifting the heavy weights because it might cause you injury and it might give you an incorrect assessment of how much muscle strength you have left. You are better off spending some time stretching, warming up, and getting into the rhythm before you lift heavier weights to test your muscle strength on that particular day. That is exactly what we are going to do here. The next few days is just about giving yourself a cognitive warm-up so that you are able to get a cleaner assessment of your cognitive capabilities as far as the GMAT is concerned. With that said, I have plenty of time left in my study session today, so I can jump straight into the data insights practice questions. As a first step, I will spend some time trying to figure out how I can use the online question bank effectively to make practice sets, and then from there, I will get into the practice questions themselves. I am super excited about it. Let's get going. Alright. So that was about 75 minutes spent doing 3 things. First, I figured out how to use the online question bank for my practice session. Second, I practiced data insights questions for a time-boxed 45 minutes. Finally, I briefly looked at my performance metrics from the practice session and identified key takeaways. Just to keep my life simple for now, I did not spend significant time acquainting myself with the online question bank and identifying how to use it best for my practice sessions. I will come back to that after I've taken the practice test in a few days, and maybe I will make a full video on that topic in the future. For now, I wanted to focus my time and attention on preparing for the practice test itself. Let's look at my test outcomes. Accuracy first. I answered 17 questions in total. I got 16 of them right and 1 wrong. That is an accuracy of 94%. That is an improvement from my performance on the diagnostic test, but I think I can get to 100% accuracy on the data insight section if I put my mind to it and practice properly over the next several weeks. Then, talking about velocity, I attempted 17 questions in 45 minutes. If you do the math, that comes to about 2 minutes 38 seconds per question. That is about 20 seconds higher than the 2 minutes 15 seconds per question that the final GMAT test allows for the data insights section. So, if I was taking the data insights section on the final GMAT test today, I would have been unable to answer 3 questions towards the end. On the final test, the data insights section will contain 20 questions. Knowing the GMAT scoring algorithm, that would be a disaster for my GMAT score. Recalling my practice session, towards the end of that 45-minute period, I did get to question number 18, but I noticed that I only had 10 seconds left on the clock. As a result, I decided to leave the question be, and I did not even bother to read question number 18. That is simply because I want to be honest to myself. When I encounter question number 18 in one of my future practice sessions, I want my brain to be surprised by the freshness of that content. I don't want to cheat myself and go, Oh, I read a part of this question yesterday, so I guess I can save some time now and I'm already ready to answer. Of course, if this was the final GMAT exam, I would just make an arbitrary guess on the final 2 or 3 questions that I haven't touched yet, because I know that the GMAT imposes a major penalty for not finishing any of the sections on the test. That said, because this was just a practice session, I would rather leave the questions be. Overall, I think I did alright. I showed major improvement from my performance on the Data Insights diagnostic test. Based on what I am seeing, I absolutely need more practice to improve my velocity meaningfully on the data insight section and bring it within GMAT's time limits. I also think that I can aim for 100% accuracy on this section, with the caveat that on the day of the exam, I might get nervous or unlucky and maybe answer 1 or 2 questions incorrectly. To be clear, this section is going to be harder for me than the quant section. As you saw in my diagnostic test outcomes, I can finish the quant section with several minutes to spare while still doing pretty well on accuracy. So for the quant section, I can actually relax a bit and focus on protecting my accuracy instead of rushing through the problems. But on the data insight section, I don't think I'm going to have any time to relax. I fully expect that when I get to the final exam, I might have to make trade-offs between velocity and accuracy in order to do well on this section. With that commentary out of the way, it is time for me to analyze my notes so that I can identify detailed takeaways which will help me improve my test performance. But there is a problem. I am out of time for my study session because it is late night out here. So I'm going to do something that I generally recommend you try to avoid as much as you can through your GMAT preparation. I'm going to push the analysis of today's practice session to my study session tomorrow. Generally, I would recommend that you analyze your notes after a practice session right then and there, because your practice experience is fresh in your mind and you can easily recall what was going on in your head as you were practicing the questions. That improves the quality of feedback which you are able to extract from every minute of practice that you have put in. But you will have occasions where that will be difficult, and all you can do is adapt to the situation at hand. Talking about tomorrow, it is day 8 of my GMAT prep. I will first conduct an analysis of my practice session from today. Then I will get into a 45-minute data insights practice session, followed by conducting an analysis of that practice session right after. This is in line with the study plan that I had put together and shown to you earlier in the video. If I still have time remaining, I will spend that on practicing some questions from the quant section. So that is all. Remember to hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. That will instantly improve your score by 200 points. No it will not. There are actually no shortcuts when it comes to the GMAT. The good thing about the GMAT is that it is meritocratic, unlike promotions at your workplace or the box office collection of that terrible movie which made an absolute killing. Yes, that one. Anyway, with the GMAT, be unafraid to surface your weaknesses and identify the right places to invest your time and effort, and you will, I promise, get to your best GMAT score in a single attempt. I will see you in the next video.